His contributions extend to critical areas such as heat wave health adaptation, air pollution risk communication, and innovative technological solutions for pandemic surveillance, notably during the COVID-19 crisis. He holds key roles in national and international technical expert groups, including the National Disaster Management Authority of India and the Global Heat Health of Information Network. Thank you for joining us, sir. Today, we are privileged to have you here. Now, I would like to start the discussion with you on how climate change is impacting our world. So my first question for you, sir, is how would you describe the general overview of climate change and its effects?
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Kashish, and I must thank Sharp NGO for hosting this dialogue, a very important dialogue, particularly on the subject of heat, which is a matter of concern in recent days. So your first question about how does climate change affects heat wave. So we need to first understand what exactly is climate change. Do you mind if I make a presentation?
No, sir, please go ahead.
Okay, all right. So I'll quickly do a presentation, and the topic which has been given to me on community engagement and heat wave resilience and preparedness, I'll probably try to cover almost all those points that are there in the agenda through my presentation. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll turn off my camera while I'm presenting. So yeah, we need to first, understand this whole thing. I mean, we are very fluid between using these jargons and terminologies, climate change, weather, and all these things. But let's first understand what exactly are the differences between these terminologies. So what we experience on day-to-day basis, or even at hourly basis, or for example, in the months, for example, in India, we have, largely three seasons, what we call winter, summer, monsoon. So what we experience on day-to-day basis is what we call weather. There is another terminology called climate variability, which many of us, sorry, is it okay if I speak in English, or should I use Hindi, or what would be the preferred language?
If you can switch, because we do have a mixed audience of participants.
So, मतलब मुझे हिंदी यूज करना है या
whatever you're comfortable with, but we would suggest a little simpler English.
All right, so yeah, ठीक है. So हमको ये चीज थोड़ा समझने की जरूरत है कि ये क्या होता है. हम क्लाइमेट चेंज बोल देते हैं, we fluently use this terminology climate change. So weather, अगर मैं आज की बात करूं, आज दिल्ली में गर्म तापमान है, बारिश नहीं हो रही है. अगर मैं साउथ में अगर कहीं की बात करूं तो वहां बारिश शुरू हो चुकी है, पूना वगैरह में बारिश हुई. साउथ इंडिया की अगर मैं बात करूं तो वहां का आज का जो वेदर कहा जाएगा वो है कि मॉनसून वेदर, वहां पर आज बारिश हो रही है. दिल्ली की अगर मैं बात करूंगा तो ड्राई हॉट वेदर है. ठीक. दूसरी एक टर्मिनोलॉजी होती है क्लाइमेट वेरिएबिलिटी, विच वी ऑल एंड दैट हैपेंस ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ फ्रॉम मंथ्स टू डिकेड्स. सो देयर आर सर्टेन फिनोमिनास, क्लाइमेटोलॉजिकल फिनोमिनास दैट हैपेंस जो महीनों से लेकर के और दशकों तक चलते हैं. फॉर एग्जांपल, अभी हमने बहुत न्यूज में काफी सुना होगा अल नीनो बार बार आया होगा कि अल नीनो की वजह से इस साल गर्मी या पिछले साल गर्मी ज्यादा पड़ी थी. अब ला नीना होने वाला है, उसकी वजह से बारिश ज्यादा होगी, या इस तरह की बातें हम सुनते हैं. तो ये जो क्लाइमेट वेरिएबिलिटी, ये नॉर्मल फिनोमिना है, ये होता है, ये पास्ट में भी होता आया है. जो हम फेस कर रहे हैं वो क्लाइमेट चेंज है. एंड व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट क्लाइमेट चेंज, it's a decadal phenomena from decades to centuries. Climate change वो दशकों से लेकर सदियों में जो एक सामान्य हमारा जो वातावरण है उसमें जो परिवर्तन आता है, क्लाइमेट है उसमें जो परिवर्तन आता है, उसको हम क्लाइमेट चेंज कहते हैं। जिसके अगर मैं उदाहरण दूं तो सबसे बड़ा उदाहरण ग्लोबल वार्मिंग जिसे हम कहते हैं, कि जो पृथ्वी का एवरेज टेम्परेचर है वो धीरे धीरे बढ़ता जा रहा है। ठीक है, सी लेवल राइज हम लोग देख रहे हैं, समुद्र का स्तर जो है वो बढ़ता जा रहा है बिकॉज ऑफ ग्लेशियर मेल्टिंग और ओशियन एसिडिफिकेशन, और इस तरह के कई सारे एग्जाम्पल्स हैं। तो वो क्लाइमेट चेंज है। लेकिन क्लाइमेट चेंज की वजह से जो वेदर पैटर्न्स हैं, जो हम डे टू डे बेसिस पे या मंथली बेसिस बेसिस पे एक्सपीरियंस करते हैं, उस पे भी इम्पेक्ट आ रहे हैं। तो अब हम देख रहे हैं कि हीट वेव की घटनाएं ज्यादा हो रही हैं। अब हम देख रहे हैं कि अगर बारिश होती है तो अचानक एक साथ बहुत बारिश हो जाती है, जिसकी वजह से फ्लड की कंडीशन क्रिएट हो जाती है। तो इस तरह से क्लाइमेट चेंज जो है वो वेदर को, एवरेज जो हमारा वेदर पैटर्न्स है उनको अफेक्ट करता है। सो क्लाइमेट इज द एवरेज वेदर कंडीशन ओवर अ टाइम, which I already explained in previous slide. And global warming refers to an average increase in the Earth's average temperature, which has increased over a period of time. For example, I come from the state of Gujarat, right? तो आप लोग भी, ये मैंने नीचे उसमें लिंक शेयर किया, आप भी जाके चेक कर सकते हैं। ऑन एन एवरेज गुजरात का भी टेम्परेचर पिछले एक सदी में बढ़ा है। उसमें जो है गर्मी की तरफ ज्यादा गया है वो। और ये जो शिफ्ट हो रहा है, हम कह रहे हैं कि एवरेज टेम्परेचर थोड़ा थोड़ा बढ़ रहा है, उसकी वजह से क्या हो रहा है? अगर आप इस ग्राफ को समझ पा रहे हैं तो पहले जब हमारे एक्सट्रीम कोल्ड डेज, हीट डेज एंड एक्सट्रीम हीट डेज इवनली डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड थे। बट अब क्योंकि हमारा जो एवरेज टेम्परेचर है वो बढ़ गया है, उसकी वजह से अब हम ज्यादा हीट डेज और ज्यादा एक्सट्रीम हीट डेज एक्सपीरियंस कर रहे हैं। और खाली यही नहीं, इस बढ़ती गर्मी की वजह से, बढ़ती ग्लोबल वार्मिंग की वजह से हम लोग वाइल्ड फायर्स के एक्सीडेंट्स, इवेंट्स काफी नोटिस कर रहे हैं इंडिया में भी और अक्रॉस द वर्ल्ड। सी लेवल राइज हो रहा है इसकी वजह से, ग्लेशियर मेल्टिंग की वजह से। जैसा मैंने ऑलरेडी बताया कि ये ऑल बाकी के जो वेदर पैटर्न्स हैं उनको भी अफेक्ट करता है, तो उसकी वजह से हमको फ्लड्स के अर्बन फ्लड पर्टिकुलरली काफी देखने को मिल रहा है। ये बाय द वे आई थिंक 2022 का या एग्जाम्पल है पटना का मेन जो गवर्नमेंट हॉस्पिटल है उसकी सिचुएशन है। सो अगर हॉस्पिटल की ये सिचुएशन होगी डिजास्टर के वक्त, तो फिर लोग कहाँ जाएंगे? एंड ऑब्वियसली ग्लोबल टेम्परेचर जो है वो ऑन एवरेज बढ़ता जा रहा है, जैसा आपने कशिश इंट्रोडक्शन में भी बताया कि इट हैज increased over a period. Uh, so what I'm particularly going to talk about. So this was so far about climate change and how it is affecting, the weathers and weather patterns and increasing the extreme weather events and disasters. Uh, क्योंकि we are talking about heat waves, I'll give you an example of one particular case, which is Ahmedabad heat action plan, right? So what happened in Ahmedabad, summers of Ahmedabad comes, हम सब जानते हैं गुजरात में ये है, और गुजरात का जो ज्यादातर गुजरात का जो वातावरण है वो शुष्क, मतलब ड्राई एरिड हीट है वहाँ पे। तो समर इज वेरी कॉमन, हॉट हार्श समर इज वेरी कॉमन। अगर मैं 2013 से पहले की बात करूं तो इस तरह की न्यूज स्टोरीज होती थी। हीट वेव इन सिटी, ओवर 50 पीपल डाइड, सैटरडे हीट्स अप, कॉप डाइज ऑन ड्यूटी, एक ट्रैफिक पुलिसमैन ड्यूटी पे एक्सपायर हो जाता है बिकॉज ऑफ हीट। बट अगर आप इन न्यूज स्टोरीज को गौर से देखेंगी तो दीज आर ऑल स्टोरीज दैट आर कवरिंग द इवेंट्स दैट हैज हैपेंड। देयर इज नो स्टोरी ऑफ प्रिपेयर्डनेस। दीज आर स्टोरीज शोकेसिंग कि हाँ घटना हो गई और अब हम कवर कर रहे हैं। बट कोई ऐसी स्टोरी नहीं थी जो लोगों को एडवांस में बता सके, कि प्रिपेयर्डनेस की बात कर सके। और यही हुआ 2010 में। 2010 में अहमदाबाद में एक बहुत ही डिवास्टेटिंग हीट वेव का इवेंट हुआ, जिसमें सिटी का जो मई महीने में था, ये सिटी का जो एवरेज मोर्टालिटी है, एवरेज डेली जो डेथ्स होते थे सिटी में, उसमें काफी हद तक इजाफा देखने को मिला, काफी इंक्रीज देखने को मिला। वो एक पर्टिकुलर हफ्ता बिटवीन 19th टू 25th of May, 26th of May, there was more than 800 excess deaths happened in daily, average mortality when we compared it with 2009 average of 2009 and 11। और पूरे महीने की अगर बात करूँ, वो महीना काफी गर्म था। टेम्परेचर के बार्स भी आप इसमें देख सकते हैं ग्राफ्स में। तो वो महीना काफी गर्म था। और और कोई कारण नहीं था सिटी के अंदर, ना कोई और एपिडेमिक था, ना कोई आउटब्रेक था, ना कोई मेजर एक्सीडेंट हुआ था जिसकी वजह से इतना सिग्निफिकेंट एवरेज डेथ्स में हमको इंक्रीज देखने को मिले। और वही हमको देखने को मिला जो 108 के एम्बुलेंस कॉल्स होते हैं, सेम ट्रेंड हम लोगों ने उसमें भी देखा। सो दिस वाज एन अलार्मिंग कॉल, एंड दैट इज व्हाट ट्रिगर्ड द सिटी to prepare well in for future to protect the citizens from any imminent heat spell that may happen in the future. And that was the reason of genesis of this first heat action plan, South Asian heat action plan rather, citywide comprehensive South heat action plan in the city of Ahmedabad, जिसको 2013 में सबसे पहले अमल में रखा गया था। प्लान में बहुत सिंपल कंपोनेंट्स थे। जब हम कम्युनिटी की अब बात कर रहे हैं कि कैसे कम्युनिटीज के साथ एंगेज किया जाता है, तो प्लान में बहुत सिंपल, एंड व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट कम्युनिटी इज नॉट जस्ट द community as in the citizens. Community also involves the authorities, the departments, the officers. So हर कोई का अपना रोल है, so what are the simple components that were there in that are there in a heat action plan? So first, early warning system and interagency coordination. Second, public awareness and community outreach. Third, capacity building of medical professionals. Initially medical, but then other key departments capacity building also. And then reducing the heat exposure and promoting the adaptive measures. I'll go into detail of each of them. So, pehla intervention, early warning system and interagency coordination. This is very important. So, when do you want to alert people? है ना? So, how do you want to alert and warn people? How do you want to alert and warn different departments के precautionary measures लेने हैं? So, this entire system was built as part of heat action plan, where health department was designated as the nodal department, and within health department there was a nodal officer designated to coordinate all the actions. So once the officer receives the warning from India Meteorology Department that for next 5 days these are going to be temperatures and they are falling in these different categories of warning, yellow, orange or red, then based on that, whatever is there in the heat action plan, at different category of warnings, what actions should be taken from different departments, the nodal officers then passes on this information to all those key departments that you can see here: hospital, labor, water. These are just few. It has increased over a period. And then also to press and other line departments and other key agencies and non-government agencies within the state and city as well. So this is how the information and warnings and alerts are being circulated. And while during the initial year, it was only circulated through emails, and through press release. Over a period, the city realized that there are better means of communication that can also be opted. For example, WhatsApp, creating a WhatsApp group of all the key stakeholders, putting the warnings on the alerts and warnings on the social media handles of the municipal corporation. So that has helped a lot in percolating the information to a larger scale. Second intervention, sorry, public awareness and community outreach. So there are two different things here. When we say public awareness, it's general public awareness, which goes around throughout the summer month. These are general do's and don'ts, what people should take, what precautions in general people should take, and what they should avoid, what kind of behavior they should opt for, lifestyle they should opt for. So that those are general awareness, which has been done through such kind of billboards, and now they are doing it through digital screens and through all the means of communication, for example, FM channels, TV interviews, and many other platforms. But when I say community outreach, we are talking about a targeted community, the vulnerable communities, who are at higher risk because of the heat, to the heat because of the either nature of their work or their demographic situation. So, for example, traffic police who is exposed to heat because of the nature of work, slum women, out street vendors. So they are exposed to heat and they are at high risk because of the nature of the work. Elderly people with comorbidities. So targeted workshops, targeted outreach activities are being done for this particular community. So these are some of the examples again that we can see here, billboards and doing workshops within the slum households with the community organizations to sensitize the vulnerable groups, doing honking through auto rickshaws and raising awareness about do's and don'ts during the heat. And not just that, also again using all the means to communicate, doing SMS blast and sharing the information through WhatsApp and all that. Third, the intervention is about building capacity. I believe the next speaker, Dr. Piyush, will talk about more, get into the detail of the health impact, how heat affects the health of the people. I'm pretty sure, so I'm not covering that. But in general, building capacity of the health system primarily, building capacity of the paramedics, the doctors, to differentially diagnose heat-related illnesses. क्योंकि गर्मी में कई बार ये होता है कि जो हमारे medical forces है, they miss to diagnose many times that this could be because of heat. So training them, and this has something initiated from Ahmedabad Heat Action Plan has also been taken up to a larger scale. So now under National Center for Disease Control, under Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, we have a national action plan for heat-related illnesses, where the ministry and the department is training all the states and all the districts and all the cities on how to better diagnose the heat-related illnesses and how to better report them. So that has also, this is the same thing that I was talking about. So that has scaled to a large level now from the central ministries. So again, some of the examples of capacity building trainings and workshops that is being done, and it is not just limited to, as I said, health, but also other building capacity of the health department or health sector, but also capacity building of other key departments. For example, education. Education is also one of the schools, and children are one of the vulnerable groups. So building capacity of the education department or schools. So doing capacity workshops, building workshops and trainings of principals and teachers. This is again one of the example from Ahmedabad. And this is for Anganwadi workers and ASHA workers, doing it through SETCOM, the mass communication channels, TV channels, where you can reach thousands of workers, grassroots workers in just one time. And then lastly, the fourth intervention, which is about reducing the heat exposure and promoting the adaptive measures. So this is where we can also engage with the communities to and civil society organizations and NGOs to engage with the government, with the local bodies, local urban bodies, or the custodians of the heat action plan, to help them in providing the vulnerable communities solutions that can reduce their heat exposure and promote the adaptive measures. For example, this one of the religious group in Ahmedabad, and there are many, not just religious, but there are many NGOs and civil society organizations that do water kiosks, not in Ahmedabad, in many cities in India now, water kiosks and other solutions such as cool roof, which has recently been very much promoted. So cool roof is one of the passive cooling technologies that not just help the households, particularly the slum households, the vulnerable ones, in adapting with the heat, but it also helps in reducing their so it reduces the indoor temperature and provides a better thermal comfort. So it is cheap. I mean, it's low cost technology. It provides better thermal comfort, and it also reduces their energy cost for cooling, right? And at a longer term, if such kind of solutions are implemented at a larger scale, that it can also help in mitigating the future heat by reducing the energy cost. So these are some of examples. So this gentleman in the orange kurta was the then mayor who initiated this cool roof program in the city of Ahmedabad. And he also engaged with the college students and encouraged them to, expand this entire initiative in several slums in the city of Ahmedabad. And what stories that we were, seeing before the implementation of heat action plan totally turned around. So now we see stories, AMC as in Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation gets ready for a 3-day heat wave. So now we have a preparedness, advance uh, information coming up into the news stories. We are letting the people know that there is a possibility of heat wave and what precautions, preparation they need to take. Department tells cops how to beat the heat. So now we are seeing more preparedness and proactive stories as compared to stories of a mishap already happened. And this has resulted in significant decrease in the mortality. So what was happening before the heat action plan was launched in 2013, the heat stroke cases and heat stroke deaths significantly reduced over a period of time in the city of Ahmedabad. And this was also documented and published in a peer-reviewed journal that after implementation of heat action plan, the city has avoided more than 1,100 heat-related deaths annually since the implementation of heat action plan in the city of Ahmedabad. Now, from here, what happened, on average, I mean, so far we were talking about 2013, 14, 15, on average, the heat wave affected the states which were prone to heat wave, they were increasing over a period in India, and number of average heat wave days recorded were also increasing over a period in India. And taking the cognizance of that, the national departments, national authorities like the National Disaster Management Authority, the India Meteorology Department, the Health and Family Welfare Department, they took the leadership and scale the heat action plan to the national level, to all the states, all the majority states prone to heat wave, and through them to districts and cities. And we saw a significant decrease in the number of deaths, heat wave deaths that have been reported in the past. 2015 was a triggering year for the India, when the national agencies decided to take action, and the plan got recognition at both national and international level, and it got, as I mentioned already, expanded with the national leadership uh, through across the country. uh, from there, we are now also recently working on another city called city of Jodhpur, where we have last year itself launched Jodhpur heat action plan. Jodhpur is a tier 2 city. Ahmedabad is a tier 1 city. Jodhpur is a tier 2 city. Challenges are different. But what the city did differently is, while most of the heat action plans were lacking uh, hyperlocal vulnerability assessment, this was the first tier 2 city heat action plan in India that did a hyperlocal ward level vulnerability assessment, considering uh, you know, different different components of the vulnerability, like what is the exposure of people, what is the land surface temperature for different wards, what is the population density, how people are differently sensitive to heat. So, for example, what is the number of slum households in a particular ward, what's the literacy level in a particular ward, what's the female population, and also what is the adaptive capacity, how much a particular ward is able to cope with the heat or any situation like that. So do they have access to park, do they have access to
Sir,
health
very
centers?
sorry, but we request you if you can cut short it a little bit.
Sure, yeah. So this is some of the examples that I was trying to share from Jodhpur, where again the slum community are putting efforts together to cope with the heat. These are community level early warning system initiatives that has been taken. One of the first net zero cooling station has also been launched this year in the city. I'll probably wrap it here. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. You actually covered all the points that we wanted to talk about, such as building capacity for various key stakeholders and initiatives one can take. So now I would like to introduce our second panelist for the day, that is Dr. Piyush Ranjan. So Dr. Piyush Ranjan is a distinguished figure in the field of medicine, specializing in internal medicine with a focus on various subspecialties. He completed his MBBS and MD medicine from the esteemed Rajendra Institute of Medical Sciences, Ranchi, before embarking on a stellar academic journey. Throughout his career, Dr. Ranjan has held significant academic positions at prestigious institutions in India. He served as senior resident at Lady Hardinge Medical College, New Delhi, and currently serves as a professor at Department of Medicine, AIIMS, New Delhi. His research contributions are widely recognized, particularly in areas such as medically unexplained physical symptoms and infectious diseases. He has authored numerous publications in reputed medical journals and has been actively involved in research projects focusing on biomarkers, treatment modalities, and patient care enhancement. Thank you for joining us today, sir. We're truly honored to have you in our presence.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me and giving me an opportunity to interact with the esteemed audience. So as I get a bit late in joining, so because of some unexpected commitment, hospital-related commitment, so I would be happy to address any question since we have already started with the seminar.
Yes. So, sir, I'll just give you a recap. So we've talked about climate change, and then Mr. Abhyant, our other panelist. So he's talked about the heat wave exposure and the mortality rates that first went up, and through building community resilience, the mortality rate has dropped. So my question to you is, in a general way, that could you explain to us like what happens to our bodies जब हम heat में बहुत ज़्यादा देर रहते हैं, and what are the signs and symptoms we all should look out for?
Okay, so since I can see there are a lot of school students also, and they are from different part of the country, so I'm really excited to share my experience and the knowledge regarding this. So is my voice audible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so basically, if we see that like we human being are warm-blooded human being, warm-blooded organisms. So our temperature, body temperature are always kept in a narrow range of body temperature. Like some other organism who can change their temperature as per their surroundings. Okay, so our body system has to be kept within a narrow range of temperature, which is mostly from say 35 to 41 degrees Celsius. So there are certain areas in our brain, which is known as hypothalamus, that has got thermoregulatory center. They regulate the center either by the severing of the muscle, number one, or by release of the, what we say, the sweat, that is by the water as well as sodium chloride. So considering this, whenever the surrounding temperature is increased, and we have to keep temperature within the given temperature parameter, so temperature range, then we will have to sweat excessively. That leads to the loss of water and salt, what is commonly known as dehydration. जैसे बच्चों में ऐसा लगता है खूब प्यास आना, खूब थकान आना, खूब चिड़चिड़ाहट आना, खूब घबराहट होनी, and which is recognized by increase in the thirst, number one, and number two, by decrease in the amount of urine output. So these are the initial signs of dehydration. And as the dehydration is increased further, so there are other symptoms like there would be hypotension, which is decrease in the blood pressure. Along with this, there would be increased irritability, and there would be what we say the cardiovascular effect, that is arrhythmia. That means the दिल की धड़कनें जो है वो थोड़ी सी अलग हो जाती है. So if we say it in a layman term, so subsequently there is increased nausea, vomiting, bowel disturbances, and delirium means थोड़ी सी हल्की सी बेहोशी जैसे छाने के. So these are the wide spectrum of the effect or the symptoms that we actually say. So coming next to, as I was going through the agenda which you have kept for me, who are the vulnerable population? So basically persons who are in the extreme of age, like children, infants, along with the senior citizens. They are more vulnerable to the heat related morbidities. Number one. Along with this, the person who are having other related disease like diabetes, kidney disease, and other illnesses, they are also more vulnerable. So these are the early signs. So what precaution that usually one should take? So there are certain golden rules in this season. Keep yourself as much covered as you can. Okay. So you should wear the cap, turban, or you should wear the full sleeves shirt as well as trousers. Along with this, keep yourself hydrated. So whenever you are planning to go out, if you are falling in the vulnerable population group, try to avoid your visit in direct sunlight or outside uh, during the main daytime, like from 11 a.m. to 5, 6 p.m. So during that period, the sun heat is really more troubling. So during that period, try to avoid. If at all you have to go, then wear the clothes, as I have already mentioned. Then plan yourself, plan and take the excessive of extra fluid which is required for you. So suppose you have to go out, then you take at least 2 to 3 liters of the water along with plain water or other water along with ORS. Okay, so ORS will replenish the salt as well as the water. So, and at least try to watch your urine output. If you have passed one episode of good amount of urine in 4 to 6 hours, then it will broadly mean that you are not dehydrated. So these are the some broad points which I feel would be useful for your audience.
Thank you so much, sir. So I have another question. So as Mr. Tiwari had mentioned in his presentation about heat stroke deaths. So can you explain us a little about heat strokes in a
So
medical term?
yes, so heat stroke is a name of the umbrella term, heat disease, heat related disease, in which जिसको हम लोग हिंदी में कहते हैं लू लग जाना. So this includes a wide spectrum of the clinical condition. First is the heat exhaustion, then there is dehydration, then there is irritability, then at subsequent level, the thermoregulatory center actually goes out of the control. So instead of losing heat, a person his body temperature rises further, and subsequently the effect of dehydration sets in, which is which is reflected by decrease in the blood pressure. Along with this, there is arrhythmia, which is irregularity in the heartbeat. The person starts vomiting, there is feeling of nausea, and there is feeling of delirium. In common man term, you can understand halki si behoshi chha jana, thakawat, घबराहट. So this is the broad in common man term, the meaning of heat stroke.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Just one more last question that we had. So like just happened with that we should drink more water.
Yes.
And take more ORS. So apart from that, could you give us more about what are the dietary adjustments one can make?
Okay.
Simple dietary adjustments.
Okay, so there is a lot of myth that we come across कि वो प्याज खा लो उसके कारण लू नहीं लगेगी, या कच्चा निमोड़ा खा लो, आम कच्चे आम खा लो. So I wish to confirm and ascertain that there is no particular food item that can prevent you from heat exhaustion or heat related complication. Okay? So in general, as a part of broad guideline, you should take plenty of food and all those food items that are easily digestible. So food that are less in fat, salt and sugar will probably more useful in that. Number one. Number two, you should try to avoid street food and the food that are stale, कि रात को बना लिया फिर सवेरे खा लिया या refrigerator में, because in this season per se the bacteria grows rapidly and there is increased episode of food poisoning. So these are some food and dietary related suggestions that I would like to give you. Even at the cost of repetition, I would like to repeat that there is utmost necessity to rehydrate yourself, and the best fluid is either plain water mixed with ORS solution. Okay, so while preparing ORS solution, you should always watch that you should add proper amount of ORS powder in the water. So usually in the powder, one normal size of ORS powder should be mixed in 1 liter of water. ठीक है? And never take, so some people are like कि वो glucose water ले लिया. So glucose water has got no additional advantage, that too for the middle-aged person who might be having deranged blood sugar level. So they should take either salt water or the water that has got increased amount of salt in that, like coconut water or some freshly prepared fruit juices. At the same time, you should restrain yourself from taking hyper smaller fruit juices. Like कि जो डब्बा बंद जो फ्रूट जूस है उसे बहुत ज्यादा मात्रा में नहीं लेनी चाहिए, otherwise you may have bowel upset.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, as I mentioned earlier about building resilient communities, now I have one more question that is directed to Mr. Abhyantawadi. So as you know, we've already talked about how we can medically prepare ourselves for the heat wave. I would like to ask you from, a general point of view, because we do have school children and, general audience joining us. If you could tell us simple tips that we could have for heat wave preparedness in our neighborhood.
In our neighborhood. So first thing is awareness. So something called as risk literacy, that we are very poor about in India compared to, let's say, Japan, where everyone knows about the risks, that they might put themselves or in the surrounding or neighborhood they are around. So we need to be more watchful, careful about our actions, about the conditions. Because we are talking about heat, we need to be watchful about the alerts, warnings. Where can we access that? Can we are we reading the newspaper? Are we seeing the television? If the warnings are being issued, are we taking precautions? Are we also informing the vulnerable ones within our family? Within our family, there could be someone who is elderly. There could be someone who might have comorbidities. So are we also informing them, that there is an red alert for next 4 days or 3 days from the meteorology department, and we should take care, and what precautions we should take care? Are we trying to access that information or not? So that is the first step that we have to take. Dr. Piyush was already talking about this. So alter if possible, alter our exposure hours. Try avoiding exposing to the heat, direct sunlight between the peak hours, which are usually from 12 to 5 or 12 to 11 to 5 or 6. So try avoiding those hours, and even if you have to go, take precautions. Wear light colored loose clothes, cotton clothes if possible. Cover your head, keep a water bottle, and keep taking rest in between in the shade. And yeah, I mean, these are the things. And if try avoiding strenuous activity, any physical strenuous activity during this particular hour in the outside. But having said that, that doesn't mean that you are safe indoor. I'm talking about the vulnerable settings in slums. Even the indoor temperature could be very harmful. So you have to find a comfortable, thermally comfortable space and try to avoid your exposure and keep yourself hydrated. One sign of dehydration is also, Dr. Piyush already mentioned, but I'm talking about particularly the neonates, the very young children, जो 2 से 5 महीने 6 महीने के बीच के बच्चे होते हैं. They'll not give you a signal, but you have to watch for a signal. So the signals could be the child might get lethargic, वो बिल्कुल सुस्त हो जाएगा, उसका पेशाब नहीं हो रहा होगा. इनिशियल साइन है कि एकदम डार्क कलर्ड यूरिन होता है. So that's an initial sign कि डिहाइड्रेशन शुरू हो गया है. for child also and for adults also. So keeping yourself dehydrated is the key, and watching for the information and following it is very helpful.
Thank you so much, sir. I think Dr. Piyush Ranjan has raised their hand. Would you like to add on something, sir?
Yes. So I can see there are certain questions that are there in the live from live audience. So with your permission, I can take few of them.
So we'll actually have a proper Q&A round where we'll be taking up all the questions in the middle. So if that's okay.
Okay. So yes, so there are certain related questions. One question is regarding the food items that protect us from heat-related illness. So they have suggested seasonal fruits, panna, and onion. So what I want to suggest that these food items, although they are delicious, they add to our taste, and we can have them. They have other essential components like vitamins and minerals, but these do not actually save you from heat-related illness. There are only two interventions that can save you from the heat-related intervention. First is the prevention. Prevention is to prevent you from exposing yourself to the direct sunlight when temperature is really high, number one. And number two, by wearing full arm clothes. Okay. And at the same time, you can also use umbrella and other personal protective measures. Number one. Number two, you have to keep yourself rehydrated or excessively hydrated once you are planning, and if you are obliged to go out in the sun, like because of occupational reason or this thing. So these are the important thing. So if you have developed any sign of dehydration or heat related illness, please go and visit nearby doctor rather than you're doing the homemade remedies like having onion or kacha panna or these all things. They may not be useful. They are definitely not useful in preventing the progression of disease, and you may actually miss the golden period of opportunity when you can save yourself from the symptoms and related complication. So now I will stop. So if there is any other question, then that can be taken with as you feel good. Okay.
Sure, sir. So we do have a lot of questions coming in. So the first question that we have is it okay if we go out at 9:30 a.m.?
So this actually will depend on your necessity and the temperature. Usually the temperature are moderate at the beginning of the day and in the late in the evening. But in national capital region in Delhi, what we were seeing in some other part also, even the night temperature are not falling back down. So the time actually indicates that which part of the day when you cannot have direct sunlight, where the temperature difference, you can have a temperature difference of at least 4 to 5 degrees Celsius. This is the main reason for saying this. So in the different part, the person in the different part of the country can visit their local meteorological data and can make their plan accordingly.
Thank you, sir. So we have another question. That is, if climate change happens after centuries, then to reverse the effect of climate change, will it take centuries? So I suppose this question is directed to Mr. Abhyant.
Sure. So climate in general is a period, climate scientists consider a period of 30 years to study if there is any change happened in a climate, average climate or not. So it's a period of 30 years. And it had happened, when I said it had happened over centuries, from decades to centuries. And it will obviously require decades to century not to reverse it. We are way ahead from reversing it, but we need to control the changes, the warming that is happening. So I'll not get into more details. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir, and thank you for your insights. Now, before we move on further with our Q&A round, we have a short video highlighting Sharp's impactful initiatives to help the environment. And in the meanwhile, I request the audience to drop their questions in the Q&A box. Now we'll open the floor for more questions from our audience. So we have at around like a few questions coming in from Nanda Mhatre, if I'm pronouncing the name right. If you can please turn on your mic and maybe ask your questions. All right, I'll read out the question. So the few questions that have been asked are, there is one which says, by the reason of sunstroke, I suffer fever and cold that was for a long duration in this position. The sun was in front of my window for full 2 months, and head is suffering with heat and dryness, and nose is getting closed, and they're having trouble breathing. So what remedies should I do? So Dr. Piyush Ranjan, if we can have an answer. Or if you can hear us. Okay, so I think there's some problem. So meanwhile, we'll move on to the next question. We'll come back to this one. So this is a question directed to Mr. Abhin Tiwari. If climate change happens after centuries, then to reverse the effect of climate change, will it take centuries? Okay, so I think this
You
has
already
been
have.
already answered. Okay. Just a second. So we have one more question. What effects does this climate change can have on our capacity to work, as due to excessive heat, feeling of laziness has been noticed by many.
Sorry, can you ask it again?
Okay, so the question is, what effect does this climate change have on our capacity to work due to because of excessive heat, feeling of laziness that is being noticed by many?
Yeah,
Could you give
absolutely.
us-
It reduces the productivity. There is so much research and information and data available on it that the increasing heat because of the climate change is reducing the productivity of the people, ending up, making them lose their livelihood. Uh, and that's why it has been encouraged to shift the working hours, particularly when there is an extreme heat wave alert, or a heat wave warning has been issued by the authorities. So try to shift your work hours or your uh, activities in the cooler hours of the day. It reduces the productivity, yeah, on an average.
Okay, thank you so much, sir, for answering. If there are any more questions that anyone would like to ask. So we have one more question, like, what role do schools and universities play in educating about combating the climate change problem?
Schools, education department or schools are the torch bearers of the change, the behavioral change. So what behavior we inculcate in general, I'm not just talking about climate change, but what behavior we inculcate in the children in their early age, in the schools and in the high schools and later in the college, is something that they carry forward as a lifestyle throughout their life. So if we are teaching them, a lifestyle which is more greener, climate resilient, about saving electricity, about, you know, uh, respecting the green cover, enhancing the green cover. Um, uh, I mean, not uh, not increasing the waste, uh, and recycling. So all the sustainable lifestyles, particularly suggested in the life mission by the Honorable Prime Minister. If we inculcate those things in the school itself, that can help a lot, uh, not immediately, but for the future generation. Yeah.
So, and as we have many students who have joined our webinar from all over India, could you also tell us more about some innovative projects or technologies that students can participate to combat climate change?
I'm not aware. I mean, I'm not able to recall anyone immediately right now, but I can share it later with you guys, and you can share it in your network.
Sure, sure, sir. And I think we have a hand raised from one of our participants, Ritu Ludra. You can unmute yourself. Okay, so we'll move on to, we have a few more participants who've raised their hands. And if it's all right, because we're running a little short on time, if you can, give us your questions, and we'll surely get back to you with the answers. Thank you so much. So with this, I would like to quickly move to our next component of the webinar. Now, I would like to throw light on a very important initiative called Conserve My Planet, fostering a green revolution in schools, empowering the next generation with environmental education and sustainable practice. Can we have the next slide? So to address the urgent need for action on climate change, Schneider Electric India Foundation and Sharp NGO are pleased to present Conserve My Planet, a fun-filled experiential learning program for conserving energy and environment to address the energy dilemma. And it is aligned with the UN Sustainable Development Goal 13 on climate action. And it aims to cover essential topics such as energy saving, renewable energy, waste management, that empower students from grades 5th to 8th to become leaders in environmental conservation. And this program aligns perfectly with every school's commitment to environmental education, reinforcing school values and equipment, their students with the knowledge, skills, and inspiration to make tangible differences in our communities, and beyond, instilling hope and optimism for a greener future. And through dynamic classroom workshops, interactive sessions, and outdoor activities, that is followed by a city-level championship, CMP provides students with a platform to showcase their creative solutions to environmental challenges. Now, I would like to give you some highlights of the program, why it makes it so special. So first of all, we have interactive sessions, like you can see, make the most of energy, conserve at home, conserve at campus. Now, in this interactive sessions, we have hands-on activities where students do energy audits in their homes, in schools. So as it's mentioned, water, waste, energy, land, and air audit around the school that promotes practical sustainability education. And hands-on home energy audits, which helps them analyze their electricity bills and also gives them tips and identifies ways that they can lower their household energy consumption, bringing down their individual carbon footprint. And then we have, one of our most favorite activities from this long-running program that is called the Green Cop activity, which has, surveys and awareness campaigns, such as signature campaigns, that we do encourage the students to go to local petrol pumps where they engage with motorists on different topics such as energy conservation, pollution awareness, asking important questions as if whether they do have pollution check certificates or not and why are they important, and also monitoring their fuel consumption. And last but not the least, for our program, we have the Green Championship, the city level championship, where in students, they showcase their working models. Now, the Pan India program is conducted in 11 major cities, as you can see on the screen, across the country. And in around 70 plus schools, they participate annually with a growing Green Republic every year. Can we have the next slide, please? Thank you. Now, I would like to talk about some benefits for why schools and students, they should join this program with us. So becoming a part of the Green Republic program, it offers your schools a unique opportunity to gain national recognition and also drive meaningful change. And so here's how the program can benefit your schools and the students both. So first of all, it gives a national recognition to the school through participation in our program. The schools, they compete in inter-school championship every year with a chance to win, different prestigious awards such as Green Champion, Energy Star School, Energy Star Teacher, Energy Star Students, to name a few, and showcase their commitment to sustainability. And apart from this, the students are also empowered with practical skills as certified energy auditors, equipping them to implement energy saving practices, not just at home, but in their schools and their communities. And during the sessions, they also receive engaging activity booklets along with t-shirt and caps, which highlights them as green ambassadors to make their learning experience both educational and fun. Now, in the next slide, so nothing speaks louder than personal experience. Now let's listen to a personal experience that captures the essence of our work.
Good morning, everyone. This is Kanchan Singh, a Green Coordinator teacher from St. Clyde School, AIIMS Road, Janahal. Today, our country's growth and development graph is accelerating at a high speed, and all this requires consumption of natural resources. During this time of evolution, there is a requirement of thinking and acting towards the sustainability of energy resources. Conserve My Planet program from Schneider Electric India Foundation is playing a greater role in training young minds to create a balance between the usage and consumption of natural resources. In this context, I would like to quote the famous saying of Albert Einstein: "We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them." As a green coordinator teacher, I feel extremely proud when I see our green ambassadors showing keen interest to carry out all the activities like drawing and painting competitions, energy audit, then green COP activities, and many other awareness programs. I thank Schneider Electric India Foundation and the team of Sharp NGO for meticulously planning and coordinating all the activities under CMP. I also thank all the green schools, to be called so, for training, shouldering the responsibility to train the citizens for tomorrow. Go green, grow green.
Now, CMP is a beacon of environmental stewardship, not only within India, but also on a global stage. And we are very proud to share with you that our program was recently, prominently featured in 55 Stories of Change. It's a compendium of inspirational narratives that is curated by the Generation Equality Feminist Action for Climate Justice, Action Coalition of UN Women. And CMP exemplifies collaborative efforts towards a gender equal green future. Can we have the next slide? Thank you. Now, we firmly believe that by empowering our students to embrace sustainability as a lifestyle choice, we can, collectively pave the way for a greener and a more sustainable future. So for this, you can join the vibrant network of schools working together to promote sustainability by reaching out to us on the given email ID. We would love to accommodate you, have you become a part of our Green Republic. So, and also I would like to mention that it's a free of cost program, right? Okay. So we will. Okay, so because our panelists were a little busy today, if you have any questions that are to be addressed, you can mail it to us on the email ID given to us in the chat box, right? You can reach out to us there and we will surely get back to you with your answers. I would like to thank you all for joining the webinar today and making it a success. Now before we end our webinar, we have some important updates for the principals and teachers. I would like to highlight our ongoing, flagship program that works all around India. That is our school health checkup program. It is an awareness program which has, covers teachers, students from different age groups. Can we have the next slide? And we're also proud to present that Sharp this year will be celebrating its 25th anniversary, our Silver Jubilee. For this, we want you to pledge with us to plant at least 1,000 trees this year, contributing to a greener and a more sustainable future. So you can scan the link below for donate now, and you can plant a tree for just ₹99 and help combat the climate change. Or you can donate directly through our website, that is www.schoolindia.org. And these are our details. For any further information about our programs, if anyone would like to collaborate us for any programs, you can follow us for regular updates or contact us. So given below is our email ID, that is info@schoolindia.org, our contact number, and the website given, that is www.schoolindia.org. And you can also visit us on our social media links again. And I would also again like to remind you that we're again welcome to getting more registrations for a Conserve My Planet program. My email ID has been given in the chat box, that is kashish@schoolindia.org. It's a free of cost program, and we would love to collaborate with more schools with you. So with this, I would like to end our today's discussion. And again, thank you so much for joining us today. We would love to see you with more in our more webinars. So we have participants asking us for the certificate. So we will share the certificates on everyone's email ID that you have used to register for the webinar. We have our database. We'll be sharing them on your mail ID soon. Thank you so much. And you all can leave the webinar. Thank you. Thank you so much.